This is House of Transport. My name is Jide Odioye, the Transport Master. Welcome to our Road Etiquette series. This episode, we shall be discussing pedestrian crossing in general. I will try and explain the types of crossing facilities for pedestrians that we can have on the road. The first one is zebra crossing. The second one is crossing at intersections where it's signalized. The third one is overhead bridge, and the fourth one, subway. There are some specific areas, for example, where crossing has been provided for by a specific entity, like if you are aware or familiar with the Mobile House on the Lekki Express, they have a pedestrian walkway that goes into the car park across the road. That is another form of crossing. But this episode, we shall specifically be dealing with what drivers do and what they need to do in order to facilitate a safe crossing for pedestrians. Remember that pedestrians have a right to be on the road just as motorists as well. And they are more than likely to be more vulnerable than the motorists because motorists are protected by their cars, but pedestrians are exposed to all sorts on the road. So when, as a driver, you're approaching a zebra crossing, how you notice there's a sign there that says pedestrian crossing, give way to pedestrians. And you probably see the black and white markings on the road. That is a zebra. The reason why they call it a zebra is because of the white, black stripes. That's why they name it zebra crossing, not because it's for zebras to cross, it's for pedestrians. Right? When you approach such areas, because you would have seen the markings ahead of you as you're driving, the ideal thing to do is for you to slow down and to give way to the pedestrian who is there wishing to cross. If a pedestrian is already on the zebra crossing, that pedestrian has a right to finish their crossing safely. Try not to come so close to the zebra crossing. Try not to rev your engine as if like you want to hurry them up to go across the road, because that can scare some people. So that's the zebra crossing, and you will always or should see the sign. Where the sign is missing does not mean you should still not give way to the pedestrian to cross there. The second one is when you come to signalized intersection. There are so many signalized junctions in Lagos State at the moment that has a pedestrian crossing phase. It is not in your interests for you to want to move your vehicle before it goes on green, because there could still be a pedestrian on the road crossing while it's on amber. So just because you have a green light does not mean you must zoom across while a pedestrian is on the road. Now, for example, if I have a 75-year-old trying to cross, the space of a 75-year-old to cross will be different from a 24-year-old. So you cannot hurry an elder like that to cross the road. So calm yourself down. When the pedestrian have crossed properly and safely, then you can move. Same thing happens in certain areas where we have pedestrian overhead bridges. Yes, we know that the motorist has a right of way, but it is also true that it is not all pedestrians that can physically climb up those steps and use the overhead bridge. So the chances are some of them might take the risk of wanting to do surface crossing where there is no zebra crossing, there's no signalized junction. What I feel you should be doing as a driver is thinking, yes, I have this situation in front of me. These people want to cross, they're not using the overhead bridge. It is not the time for me to prove I have rights. What I should be doing is to be my brother's keeper and to slow down, not to encourage them to cross, but if they have stepped on the carriageway, it behoves on me to slow down and allow them to do the crossing. Yes, traffic can build up, but it is better for traffic to build up than for me to hit a pedestrian on the road, because the traffic that I'm trying to avoid would even culminate on a higher scale once there's a kind of incidence from hitting a pedestrian on the road. So the responsibility on drivers is to have your antenna up and to be checking ahead Is there a pedestrian in front of me wishing to cross? Do you know that if you actually give way to a pedestrian, the chances of them saying thank you, acknowledging that effort that you've made, and even praying for you is much higher than for you to just zoom across like you don't care about them? Don't forget, they're already vulnerable. They're already looking at you like, oh, Mr. Big Man, Mrs. Big Woman with big car. Me, I am suffering. Why don't you just give me a chance to cross the road? Especially when we see our mothers with little children during school days, around school areas, around the church or religious areas where people go to church. That is the time as a driver where we're supposed to be careful, because more pedestrians are likely to cross around the time when they're going to the religious activity or when they're closing. And that is what, as a driver, we should be doing. It is better for us to get prayers and thank you from the pedestrians than for us to get curses and abuse from them. So next time you're on the road, look out for all the crossing facilities and make sure that everything is under your control. In the next episode, we shall be discussing the responsibilities of the pedestrians under this road etiquette series that we have. So watch out for that.